Okay, so STEM Lab 2 here. Now that hopefully you figured that out, right? You got your however you want to do. You don't have to do it like this. It just gives you a little help. It gives you to separate the Feynman diagram, if you will, right? Because you got M1, M2, M3, and what's T dimension? That's made up of all of these. Everything that's in here is in here is in here is in here. They're not in any other sector with each other, but you might want to say from in the cart they go here, or yeah, anyways. The next thing is chart diagrams. What I like to do from a starting perspective is the first thing I do is, now that I made 150 wish lists, or excuse me, 150 things on my wish list. I should have something in here. um Roy. Ah. Oh, don't tell me I gotta go back. I thought I hit them all. Come on, baby. The hell? Did I skip this section or something? I'll show you what I'm doing. Hang with me here in Dalport. Hang with me in Dalport. Ah. Okay, so I gotta debug this or something somewhere along the line. But normally, what I did last night when I had the weekend, is after I got all that done, I got all 150 and I broke them all down. I come back through my wish list. These are going to be my core 150. I'll be using this for a long time because I already refined a lot of the market through the Market Watch, decent names with a price and things like that. And again, the price nut range is up to you. The tighter you go, the harder it is to find names and numbers. And then you're going to argue American business, overseas, watch names, do your portfolio reviews. You'll need to do that before you feel real comfortable about what this is. I might have a few outliers, and I just tossed in a couple for a math problem, for some kid. But technically, I really don't need that for what a $2,500 account's going to do inside here. I'm not just going to put one on each stock and let it ride. You know what I mean? Um, but what I like to do is to say, when I first start that, I actually put an indicator of where I marked. This is the night in which I entered in, and I'll come down here into my bars, and I'll draw some drawing tools, and I'll get a vertical line, and I'll come in here and I'll put where I began to observe this mountain. And you can also put a cross member here if you want to make sure that it was at this point that I felt like, this is where I wanted to look at it. And that'll give you a visible reference every time you click on that chart later on about where you started and other things like that. And we'll be getting into more lines later, but for sure critical is this one. And don't be afraid to change the colors around or what kind of line it is, so you have a visible, easy to check, easy to look up prime indicator for yourself. If you wanted to say, well, my Sherpa's goat path was the way I got it, was a white line. Then farmhouse was a gray line, and 7th at 7 was a white line, and then everything else in the wish list was a blue line, right? So that way it lets me know it could have been tech, it could have been in the cart. I'm not really, I just, other than it was in here and well in a wish list, or excuse me, the watch list in general, I can scan those by and be like, oh, well, that's the heavy sector. That's that one inside of here that I'm looking at. Really is going to change how you perceive going at that later on. So start charting these out. Later on you can get into some heavy duty stuff, which I don't have mapped out here, but you get your Comcast and your other stuff. I actually cleaned off all of my old charts that I had in here, and I just started them off with this here so we could begin this calc. And when it opens up on Monday, and I'm going to start doing that paper trade account or bit, or you can do bit whenever, but then you can start to say, well, let's diagram market maneuvers, start going through chart diagrams to dilate or to model volumetrics. That these are probably their margin swings. If you were trying to run on bigger dips, then you change that horizontal ray into this system and let it blow right through here. So it's going to want to come back up to this volume at some point in time. Cisco. It's a pretty, I feel very confident about that name. And you feel a little bit more confident about it by what this angle of approach is here. Now again, this is 5 year or maxes on it. So that's a long period of time when you're trying to figure out Sherpa's goat path, something where we might be playing it on the day, right? Well, there's the month. Well, I'm trying to hit something like this, but the brain wants it to be the Shor algorithm on the day trade and stuff, which with paper trade works, especially when you're looking right at it. But really, we're just trying to hit one of these. I'm going to hit one of these. I'm going to notice it's going to come back down. I'm going to sell out of my position, let her come back down, reset in. Remember, this is $2,500. That is not a lot. You're going to have to bear entry. That is not going to be negotiable unless you have a way to have $10,000, $25,000. So where this could be up and down and by percentages on the triangulation, $25,000. You might only make $10 a day, right? But you could also make a lot more than that if you hit the right stock on this number by what the movements are. With that becomes this loss in time if you wanted to go more let's see here. I think Lazy Boy will be a decent one. Yeah, not my favorite. I probably had it in there because the name. Furniture. It's a little iffy inside of there, but I figured the farmhouse. What's in a farmhouse that anyway. I think Carvana's a good one. Again, I could have put that in Gary's You Crush It, but that's not what I wanted to do with it. That's up for me. Ooh. It could be important. She catches that back over, does that Kathy Woods thing. You're going to want to be there. You're going to want to be there if it does like that. I was looking for a much better name. Yeah, Comcast. Yeah, this will do just fine. Okay, see, this is a nice, steady slope. Put into it, put in the dips. That's more of your farmhouse play. Where your Sherpa's goat paths are probably with an angle, but more volatility. And generally, my 7th at 7 is we're definitely playing the day trades on that thing, or the week trade, or 5-day. That's what those runs are made for. They don't really have a company talent of doing this, and at any time that they could, usually looking for a long chart with a lot of this in it for a lot of years. If that is different under the base to height, take it into consideration. And from here, after you get your marks inside here, we're checking for trending. I'm running ramps to see where it's supposed to be. I'm correlating that on a bunch of other things because remember, we're still not getting a score here. We're just playing this pattern recognition of this AI sorting algorithm, whether it be these limits or any limits that you design as a computer programmer that does that. I'm sure there's buttons on here that I still haven't even hit as far as combinations and entropy or organization, NP, organization of field theory and students. What type of model are we on? What is would you say would be the most convenient models for how you're going to run your market strategy? Well, it's relative. It's this thing, me and my cousin have the same play, but he lives in town somewhere else. So, that's something I want to consider inside of here about how I'm playing that, but it doesn't quite have that throw, it's not. So again, when you're trying to play that idea out, X, Y, and Zeta, there's only so many market diagrams. Okay, they're all Feynman by this system on a uniform temperature of I hat and J hat, which makes this dovetail one way or the other. When you're saying my position to somebody else's, we can both agree. We can both disagree with the stock in general. I can agree, they can agree, I can disagree, they can disagree. I can have a neutral stance to somebody's aspect inside of here. And so you'll see why the whole nature of that standard model is more important to understand than this direct usage of it right now because XYZ time topology might stand. I might be standing somewhere different inside of the circumstances. I might have a portfolio that's already devoted to other things with a percentage number that when you're moving things around and doing things would work out to be the same, or potentially just on the aspect of by doing that it might change the position in some significant way where it seems like it should be relative for you, but not for me. And again, you'll get in these things like the ethical questions about what you're doing in healthcare, you son of a bitch, or construction or something like that. Well, there's a nature to it. Some of these lines, if you get this really nice 45-45, right? Come on. All right, you get these nice 45-45. What the hell are you doing? Am I not supposed to make earnings here on some system, even if it was United Health or something like that? This angle of approach on this idea is, ding, sell, 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 sell. I might even close out my whole position. But I'm trying to catch it so it lands here anyways, right? And I started down here. I made some money. It's going good. I might even look at it, and she just stood up vertical. Sell it. Get rid of it because it's breaking its own market mechanisms. Now, if you've sold out and she goes to the top like that, you might have missed out, Fannie Mae. I'm not going to tell you that's not what happened. But you have to consider yourself, what was your goal? What was your plan on that? And is there other things in the market where you can reset? If I come back to something like this, because again, these would be my main keys, I'd imagine this drives for a little while before, we get into me being Activision tapping into Weeble's Microsoft over here of whether they accept my acquisition or not, or whether the government at large is going to do that. Could be algorithms, might be a CEO. They come in here, they see you stacking it up the wrong way, getting momentum started, way overweight some plates. 2,500, you're probably not too worried about it. This has to do with overnight borrowing on companies that are in some of those precarious positions. It has to look at the bank or the FTC and call it in and tell them, hey, I need that move. I'm doing something. Seems like it's a good deal for you. It's a good deal for me, which is, we can get back into that one in the debt ceiling later. But, these would be some kind of indicators to let me know that, okay, this gives me a little insight on let that thing tear down for a little bit until it gets up to here, and I'm going to be watching this like a hawk. I'm going to have my stop loss checked in, make sure you're getting all the buttons worked out, your price ranges, you're studied, you're really into the mechanism, because right now, I don't know if I would come into it. We don't need to do that in our paper trades right now, right? What we want, let's see if I can find a better one. Here, I was going to replace that one. That's what it was. It is my key 777. It's just a fun little thing that I do. Have fun with it, and so on and so forth. But why was that? Oh yeah, here. No, this is a lot better. If that was up here, would you feel so comfortable about that bet? This is the max. I was like, oh well, the max isn't nothing. Well, where would you rather be on a day trade? Here, right, where it's like, woo, send it, wow, or here. And those are, it rips you apart, and it's something you got to get used to, I'd imagine, to a certain degree. And I only say that because I'm not a great trader, I don't really get into it like this. You can see the mathematical application start to play through, where it goes, oh, well, that's a point, isn't it? That's a good point. You could even bring that up later on at some talkie with somebody about the situation. Mathematically, you look at all these people with the charts in FM 3-0. FM 3-0 is a point that hurts. It's a floating point number, put it right in your ribs. So, that's my note. I'll catch you on the next one.